What is up everyone, Sean here, and this is my hopefully the first video of this year of 2020, besides like some of the smaller videos that might come out before this. But this is likely the first big video I put some thought into it for 2020. It's still unbelievable to me that I'm pretty much in my fourth decade, from living from the 90s, the 2000s, the 10s, and now the 20s of the 2020s or whatever. But anyway, 2019 was a pretty good year, I must say. There were a lot of good games that came out, and there were a lot of games that I look forward to, and for the most part, the games that I played pleased me. And I just wanted to compile this into a list, and it wasn't quite a top 10. I had to make it a top 12 because I was just so indecisive, and I think these games deserve some sort of, a shout out or recognition of sorts from me. And so they're going to be featured in my list. So from number 12 to number 1, obviously number 1 will be the game of the year for 2019. Hope you guys enjoy the list, and here we go. Number 12.
Recognize me, little brother.
Mortal Kombat 11. While the competitive side of the fanbase have their mixed opinions about the game's overall gameplay nature, such as the lack of flashy, expressive combos and emphasis on neutral game, or footsies if you want to call that, the overall performance as a game for consumers has met exceptional sales and reception. Its marketing has been something awesome. The fact that the launch trailer used the remixed version of the movie theme that every fan of Mortal Kombat has loved for years has now been acknowledged that the love for it is strong, and it's pretty much amongst Mortal Kombat as a whole. Not to mention the DLC characters has had its interesting choices, but at least its trailers really helped set the stage for its upcoming new fighters, including the guest characters. So far we have the Terminator, the Joker, and soon enough Spawn, who's going to be voiced by Keith David as the cherry on top. That alone would want me to at least get back into Mortal Kombat just to kind of mess around with him in the lab, maybe see what he can do, what variations he can get, or what's there to offer for the variations for Spawn. I hope they can go all out, or at least stay true to the character for Spawn. But anyway, I think this is the very first time that Spawn will be fully animated as a fighting game character, unlike Soul Calibur 2, where his cape was completely missing, which was like, a big part of him. And so Mortal Kombat 11 here will be a big opportunity for that. But back onto the game itself, the quality of the story mode still puts Mortal Kombat on top in that category. Despite not myself being on this game actively as I do for other fighting games, I still gave my money for the game, and I don't regret it. I still have my respects for this franchise from NetherRealm. Number 11.
Look, I get it. Taking on the corporation has left us with two choices, bad and worse. But you have to choose. And you have to choose now. You know you didn't have to shoot either one, right? But it's fine, I guess. You just keep being you.
The Outer Worlds. For the short time I had with this game, thanks to the gracious offer via Xbox PC Pass, during its beta phase of course, I had a blast with it. It is indeed very reminiscent to the Fallout series, particularly New Vegas, but with actual polish. Obsidian deserves all the praise for giving us the opportunity to see what it's like for a game like Fallout to have actual polish instead of that Bethesda muddle that we've been suffering for God knows how long. It's got its own charming characters and gunplay as well. Not really much else to say, it's just a great game to pick up on the PC. And from what I've heard, it's actually optimized on consoles as well. Really makes Bethesda look really lazy thanks to this game and its wonderful developers Obsidian. Hopefully they can come out with more for the Outer Worlds or even something new. Number 10.
We're breaking through now. We need a new extraction point fast.
Save yourself, daughter. Join us.
I lead soldiers. You train killers.
But we are all killers here, no?
Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The new refresh on the Modern Warfare formula, I guess you can say, is working out for the most part, I think. I personally thought the campaign was more than decent, or at least more than what I've expected for it. The story seemed more grounded this time around, so it's approachable in that sense. It kind of shows you a little more of a realistic take on what it's like to fight battles and, wars and stuff like that, conflicts with politics thrown in there, blah blah blah, you kind of name it. While I do miss the wild panache that the past games had, this is, well, refreshing. The online gameplay was overall fun so far, solo or with friends. It's a Call of Duty game that I can play in short bursts, unlike recent games. I actually would like to see more on this storyline and where this goes. Number 9.
You're the one who's gotta save the world now. Go!
Astral Chain. The 8 hours I had with this game was pretty exhilarating because of the satisfying feel of learning and mastering each gameplay mechanic that you pick up as you progress through the game. While the storyline so far isn't exactly up there with past titles from Platinum Games, and its graphics during cutscenes lacking some polish, the gameplay and the action sequences still reeks of that Platinum Games touch that fans always thirst for. It's a great game on the Switch with feel-good, ass-kicking game mechanics. That's all needs to be known when it comes to Astral Chain. If you haven't heard about Astral Chain and love action games, this is definitely the one to pick up on the Switch. Number 8. Indivisible. This was actually the last game I played before the end of 2019. I've poured 5 hours into the game, but I definitely got a good impression on the visuals, sound, music, the difficulty, the story so far, and of course the gameplay. I wanted to review this game earlier during its release, but games and other things distracted me away from this. What must be said is that it's an awesome indie game that I happily backed years ago during its crowdfunding phase. I am glad that the game has been out with the results that it boasted. It combines old school platforming and even throws in unique twists in there for some extra fun. Then you have the combat mechanics, which feel more modern. It's again very reminiscent of Valkyrie Profile. It's just pure fun that looks so charming. I love the game just from the looks alone. The voice acting, the writing, and the dialogue, how it all comes together is amusing and witty to say the least. I would love to try to give this my time with any chance I have before the big games come out during early 2020. But I think it's safe to say that Indivisible is a great example of an indie game going from the crowdfunding phase into the final product. You can certainly feel the drive, that the blood, sweat, and tears that they put into this game, and importantly, of course, the love to really make this game a great experience. Thank you, Lab Zero, for this great game. I definitely look forward to hopefully more from you guys, whether it's Indivisible or just something completely new. I love to see more of these visuals being played around more. Number 7. Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Yes, this is Monster Hunter World, which has been out for almost 2 years now, but Iceborne feels like a whole game. Not a new separate title, but content-wise, it feels like a game of its own. It certainly rekindled my hunting flame over the course of September, and it was certainly fun in its own right, especially playing with friends. The updates for other things such as the new layered armor is a very welcoming feature. The Clutch Claw really changed the dynamic of fighting the wyverns and dragons. I have a lot of fun with the claw, especially when I'm fighting with a hammer, even with other weapons such as the bow guns, light or heavy, and so on and so forth. I think the Clutch Claw really made things a lot fun, putting the monsters against the walls and everything. They fall down after hitting their face to the wall. It's just a really cool thing that they've added into this game, and I think it really helped me at least to really enjoy it again, as I did before when Monster Hunter first came out on the PS4. I hope to return to the game sometime to experience the free updates, including new monsters and collaborations along the way, not to mention that anniversary event that is coming up. Hopefully I can catch that on my free time. It really was the game I've been playing for December as well. I've been helping out my friends to catch up in Iceborne, and reliving it has been a really good experience for me because of the Clutch Claw and all the weapons that they've added in the game. It really is cool. No pun intended. Number 6. Borderlands 3. There was certainly a long wait for a main Borderlands title, especially on the PS4 generation. It's been 7 years for me since Borderlands 2 was first released. While the story had a lot left to be desired for improvements, however, the gameplay loop, the guns, the sounds, the stylish graphics, the essentials of Borderlands has been refined, and all those points hit so hard. Collecting loot and shooting enemies was such an experience that I really enjoyed a lot. With the first of its DLC rolling out with Moxxi's Heist, there's still stuff to look forward to for the game, so at least I have something to come back to. I have a reason or an excuse to come back to Borderlands 3 again whenever I have the time for it. I would love to do that for Borderlands 3. Again, despite the little faults that it had and the controversies around its developers or just one developer, I think Borderlands 3 is certainly fine, especially with how fun shooting enemies down is and collecting all the guns and the sounds, and oh man, I just really can't wait to get back in that game just to hear those sounds again. Number 5. Judgment. One of the titles I was strongly curious about. As a fan of the Yakuza series, as Ryuga Gotoku Studios made Judgment, I wanted to give this spin-off title a spin. While the basic structure is that of Yakuza, the rest of the game is different enough. The casting was great, with Takumi Kimura as the main star, Yagami, and the others made the experience along with its J-drama-esque detective storyline. The combat itself is something I would like to see in future Yakuza games, especially after Yakuza 7 / Like a Dragon. I had a blast with it as it felt like the most updated version of the combat system in the current new engine. The silliness is also what I've come to know from Yakuza games as well. That carries over into Judgment. You can certainly feel the spirit of the silliness or the over-the-top nature of Yakuza when it comes to the side stories. Now, as I mentioned, Yakuza 7, yes, it's basically making fun of Persona 5. I, however, still look forward to that title as I am willing to give it a shot just like I did for Judgment. Number 4.
You have to hit every single bump in the road? Gonna ruin my groove! What? No chit-chat or monologue? Just getting right to the point, huh?
Devil May Cry 5. Longtime fans of the series have been waiting for another game of the Devil May Cry franchise for about 11 years. This is my first DMC game that I've ever owned, but I've been familiar with the franchise from the artwork and just word of mouth from my friends, so I've come to respect Dante and the others as cool, memorable characters within the video game spectrum. Once I got my hands on this, I very much enjoyed this as an action game. I can definitely see why people think of this as the standard when it comes to the entire genre. The other competitor is, well, Bayonetta, which is worked on by, well, the same people who worked on the past DMC games. And Bayonetta 3 is now the action game people are waiting for right now, as it's still in the dark. No word or anything like that, but back onto DMC5, this game had a great variety of action and gameplay stuff thrown in there, backed up by that new RE engine that really gives them that realistic look that I really think works for these franchises, oddly enough. And I think it's probably the best take on that realistic sort of look for video games anyway. I think that engine is really, really crazy to me, especially when it's like used for actually, well, the Resident Evil games. The story, which is fun altogether, which spawned so many funny memes from it. This is such a great love letter for the fans, and I think it's safe to say that it's the best game yet within the franchise. I myself am sold on the series, thanks to DMC5. I love the characters like V, Nero, Dante of course, and Trish, Lady, and of course Nico, the brand new character, you know, the hot mechanic, of course, with that lovely southern accent, and of course the big return of, well, at this point I think everyone knows, Virgil. It was a welcoming return. It was great to see him, and everyone had their voices back. You know, the veteran cast was in there as well. You know, like I said, it's a great love letter for the fans, and I definitely would love to see more from Devil May Cry. Hopefully 6, you know, for the PS5 generation or, you know, the 9th generation, but that's another long way. But I think, you know, we should give it some. It deserves our patience, and it'll just be another great game, I'm sure. Now, before we go into the top 3 of things, I wanted to throw in a honorable mention, and that honorable mention goes to Tetris 99. It literally combines the classic game of Tetris and throws in the biggest trend of the decade of, well, the 2010s, at least in the later 2010s anyway, when it came to gaming, which was, well, Battle Royale. Battle Royale, Tetris. Stick them together, and who would have thought? It's just Tetris against many online players. 99 to be exact. It's you versus 99 people. But anyways, it's, well, Tetris, but it definitely has a little twist on there that is, you know, fresh enough or unique enough, I guess you can say, to make the game, you know, its own thing. It's just online Tetris against 99 other people and yourself. And I think that it's a great concept to combine the two of Battle Royale and Tetris. It's pretty genius, you know, to kind of sneak into the Battle Royale trend. And Tetris, of all things, well, worked. And I Pretty happy with it. Although I was a little upset for myself, or to myself, because I kind of missed out on the Pokemon event, which offered a background of sorts when you scored enough points for the game, just by playing the game too. It's not like you have to win number one every time. You just have to play the game and you just eventually get the background. But no, I had to miss the thing because I was distracted with other things, or I just kind of got lazy about it and I missed it. So that's on me. But anyways, Tetris 99, it's a pretty cool game for what it's worth, and I still will like to play it in short bursts, kind of like what I do with Call of Duty. Got that when I get that competitive juice kind of going, either Call of Duty or especially Tetris 99 can definitely kind of scratch that itch. So Tetris 99 deserves that honorable mention. Number 3. Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. Speaking of waiting, 10 long years I waited for Tales of Vesperia to come into my hands. I had a glimmer of hope for years that it would come at some point to the Western release for the best version anyway. But thanks to the awesome demand of JRPGs and other such Japanese games from fans, it got the green light for the 8th generation. I was super stoked when it was first announced. Then in January, this was one of the first games of 2019 that I was able to happily get my hands on and poured my hours into this classic JRPG. At this point, it's a classic, right? And yes, this game was originally from 2008, but hey, I think it deserves to be number 3 on the list because I had a lot of fun with it despite being pretty old, and I love the characters, what they did with Yuri, as a main character. And I think he's still pretty revolutionary. I think he's still great, and he's still popular for a great reason within the Tales franchise, as a main character. So the combat, the story, the music, the characters, like I said before, the dialogue, the charm, all that stuff still managed to hold together well, even during this day and age. The cherry on top was that it came out on the Switch, and I had to get it on there just for the fact that I can, play this on the go with the JRPG that I've waited for so long. It still gets me all giddy that, thinking about the fact that, I've waited this long for Tales of Vesperia. It came in my hands on the favorite console of mine, and I beat it, and boom, here I am talking about it. It's such a great feeling, really. It's such a great gratification, for me because of all this. And on the topic of Tales games, the new one, Tales of Arise, looks really sick, so I definitely look forward to that one. And so, the love for Tales games is still burning strong, and the flames on this one is pretty hot. If you know what I'm saying, because the Unreal Engine 4 is really making this game look really sick, and I'm really happy with how it's looking so far. So I definitely want to get my hands on it as soon as it comes out. Oh god. Oh shit, that confirmed. Number 2. Pokemon Sword and Shield. Funny enough, a Pokemon game like this was something I've also been waiting for since the days of the Game Boy player on the GameCube. The idea of seeing a traditional Pokemon game in 3D or just on consoles in general was such a dream of mine in the past, as a kid. Pokemon Stadium and other such games gave us a good idea of that and scratched that itch for some time, but we were still waiting for it. We were still aching for it. And now it has become finally a reality via Sword and Shield. Personally, I believe that the end result is good for a start, as much as it gathered the most polarizing set of opinions ever, making it the most controversial Pokemon game to date. I find it similar to that of Star Wars' latest film, The Rise of Skywalker, when it comes to the reaction of its viewers. People like it, people hate it. Same thing here with Sword and Shield. Once you get past the story and the lack of the national dex, it's a fun game with much needed updates coming to life. Dynamaxing is a fun mechanic on a casual level. The Pokemon themselves look great, the character designs, the music. It still has that Pokemon charm to it, although they did take the safe route all in all to keep the gameplay the same. But one thing I can see good in that little tactic is that a number of people who haven't played Pokemon for years can come back and pick it up right away because the gameplay is so familiar. I say it's still a great game for what it's worth and a good introduction as a traditional Pokemon console game. Let's hope its future titles will show that the devs have ironed out those wrinkles and make the games even greater. I definitely look forward to that, and I hope for it. And let's not forget, the recent announcement of the DLC is expanding on Sword and Shield rather than just remaking these two games and selling them as brand new copies and selling them at full price. And you know how the drill usually goes with Pokemon Platinum, Emerald, Black and White 2, Ultra Sun and Moon. I think that was like the worst one for me, in my opinion. I just could not replay Sun and Moon, just to get to the new parts anyway. But now we don't really have to do that anymore with this upcoming DLC, which I do really like this approach overall. Now, yes, we don't know how much the DLC content is actually in these parts, but from first impressions, I do like what I'm seeing so far with the new characters, the new Pokemon that have been introduced so far, and of course the returning Pokemon as well, which I thought as much. I thought they're going to update the game with more Pokemon over time, which would have been really ideal, for this situation anyway. And there you go. Lo and behold, that's what they're doing with 200 plus Pokemon in there, which is really cool because Garchomp, the Nidoran lineup is seemingly making it back in there as well. So eventually we're gonna see all the Pokemon back in there with this approach, and I think that's the best way they could do it. And not to mention, they're not locked away completely. You can get these from trading and stuff, so you can have them in your game, in Sword or Shield. Even if you don't buy the passes or anything like that, you just have to get the free update, and that's pretty much it. So it's pretty much the smartest way they could go about it, with the given situation, of course. So all the naysayers and haters and stuff like that kind of got a little invalidated, but they're gonna continue to complain. I mean, of course, you can never please everyone and all that, all that jazz. But again, for what it is, I do like what I'm seeing so far, and I really do look forward to it in June and of course fall for both parts. But let's not forget that this is number 2 on my list, which is kind of surprising considering Pokemon being my favorite gaming franchise, and this was one of my most anticipated games for 2019. What's really my number 1 and game of the year for 2019? Well, number 1.
違えば我々は滅ぶ。私と共にこの道を歩めるという者だけは今ここで一歩を踏み出しなさい。忘れないでね、先生。私は必ずここに戻ってくるわ。
Fire Emblem III Houses. Game of the Year 2019? I gotta give it to 3 Houses. Like Pokemon, its core gameplay mechanic is present. It has that turn-based tactical RPG flavor that Fire Emblem has been known for, but it has the zest of Persona 5 with that calendar system and other mechanics that really make this game stand on its own as a Fire Emblem title. Not to mention, the story itself was very engaging, but the arcs of each character, it was even more engaging for me, with various relationships between different characters. Raphael, Claude, Caspar, Sylvain, Shamir, Lysithea, Marianne, Petra were just some of the characters that I love seeing on the screen. This and the combination of its simple and yet satisfying gameplay really made this game an incredible journey of a brand new experience for me. I poured so many hours and had many all-nighters playing this game through combat and thinking when it comes to what stats and classes to chase for each unit. Each faction had its own story, so the main game, even before its expansion DLC, is plenty abundant. The visual designs and the awesome music track was just the cherry on top. I have to mention about all the dialogue being voiced is just wonderful and amazing. This really deserves all my praise for being different and yet familiar. I'm definitely happy for 3 Houses being my first Fire Emblem game that I've owned. It's a must-have on a Nintendo Switch in my opinion. I think it really did the familiar and yet different sort of approach a lot better than Pokemon. It's pretty much the same thing and yet some little features added into there like Dynamaxing and blah blah blah. But I think Fire Emblem really came out as a fine product while being different and yet being familiar. It's Fire Emblem and very outstanding as its own. Another great Fire Emblem game in the history books, so that's why I crown Fire Emblem 3 Houses as my #1 game and my personal game of the year for 2019. Especially with Fire Emblem, I definitely would like to see more from it for the Nintendo Switch, whether it's the main game or more Fire Emblem Warriors or anything different involving Fire Emblem. Let's just see. There is Tokyo Mirage, so if anyone hasn't already, please pick up Tokyo Mirage. It's a underrated JRPG that came out on the Wii U, so it kind of flown under everyone's radar pretty much. It definitely deserves more attention. The gameplay is very satisfying too. That's another turn-based RPG. Go give it a chance, give it a go, and it's got more content than before. But anyways, again, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, I think I'm really happy to give this one the crown for 2019. So that is it for my top 12 games of 2019 with Fire Emblem 3 Houses taking it. I'm just really happy with the game and I think it really deserves that from me. So for those who have made it through the end, what are your top 10 or top whatever games of 2019 that you think deserve to be on your list? Or what's just your game of the year from 2019? I'd like to see those in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. You know the drill. For 2020, it's more or less the same, but it always helps out definitely, and I really highly appreciate it. So I think next will be my worst games of 2019. That one's gonna be a shorter video, but I do have some things to say about that. So please look forward to that, and so hopefully I'll see you guys there. Sean out.